Well, hey everyone, welcome back. Tim here, Gamma VD, back in the garage, trying to stay out of the wind today. Spent some time recently with the guys down at Thors Lightning. Guys making these very cool air systems, air compressors. Walked away with a couple products. I've got one of their new total control air compressors, as well as one of their 4-tire inflation systems. So I want to jump into it. I want to check it out, tell you what I like, what I might not like, help you decide if these are the right products for you. So let's jump into it. So I want to start with the hose system, and right off the bat, nice bag. All their stuff is really nice looking, nicely well branded. Thors Lightning on the bag. It even says it on the hoses themselves. It even says on the little gauge that comes with the unit. So pretty cool. They did a great job just making their products, appear quality, and from what I've seen so far, really are quality. So really nicely done. A lot of hype with these multi-inflation systems. So the idea is you can hook up 2 or 4 tires all at once and then air them up or air them down all at the same time. So let's see what that looks like, decide if that's what we want to do. Hooking this up to the Tundra tire here, and first impression is these lock-on air chucks are just fantastic. So it goes on, watch this. You push it on, and then you push that ring on. You can hear the air escaping the hose, but it just locks it on. It doesn't fly off. So cool. Let me shut that leak down. So that's air coming out the other end of this hose, but I can just plug it into this guy. Again, very simple. It shuts that down. Now I get a little PSI readout. So this tire is good and aired down, but that's okay. We got a compressor here. We're gonna air that thing up in a second. Swing around and I'll hook the other end of this, this dual hose setup to the other side. Again, that lock-on air chuck just makes this so easy. I just push it in, slide that little collar forward, and it's locked on, not leaking. Love it. So stepping back, showing you what I've got. I got one lead, pretty much see all of it here, going to my little, gauge here, and obviously a fill port. This has got a little ball valve to it. So open that up and we're airing down. Close it and it doesn't leak. And what already happened is the air between the front 2 tires have equalized without me doing anything. And that's kind of cool. I was losing air when I first hooked it up. It got down to like 14 PSI. But now we're at 20 or 20.4 according to the gauge. So, because I was about 22-ish, 25, I don't know on the other side. But anyway, it evened out, and that's kind of cool. And that's probably the benefit of doing 2 at once is, both your front tires are gonna be exactly the same. Both your back tires are gonna be exactly the same. Of course, if you hook up all 4, then all 4 exactly the same. And, so that brings us to one of the first uses of this, which is, it is a deflating system. You can see that readout says, about 20 and a half. And I can open this up, let it go for a little while, close it back up. Now we're at 19.3. So yeah, there's faster deflators out there, certainly. But if you don't like to carry a bunch of extra stuff, this will absolutely get the job done. And in a way that ensures that 2 tires or 4, if you hook it all up, will be exactly the same. So turning the 2-tire system into a 4-tire system, just what you think. You're gonna add another, 2-tire manifold. Nice little Velcro strip here. Of course, has Thors Lightning on it. Really well done, guys, on that. Has one end, your standard, hose fitting that's gonna go to this guy, the other end. And then you're gonna hook those other 2 sides up to, in this case, the back 2 tires. Of course, you could do it left and right, front and back. I don't know that it really matters if all four are hooked up. They're all gonna be the same. Again, that's kind of the point. So, you know, pretty slick. One observation I've made kind of right off the bat is just the repeatability of all these air gauges. And they're all within about 2.5 PSI of each other, but they don't read the same thing. And that's fine. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. We're not racing Formula One here, okay? These aren't airplanes. We're going camping. So, whatever. Air it down if you want it squishier, air it down some more. Air it up if you need it stiffer, air it up a little bit more. Try a couple different gauges, you know, take your best bet. But I'll give you an example. This guy is right now reading, what's that say, 18.1 PSI. That's tied into both front tires. I've got the compressor hooked up to power, so as soon as this senses air, it's gonna tell you what PSI it is. So remember, 18.1, as quickly as I can, I'm gonna unplug this and plug it in right there, okay? You ready? Here we go. So, if I hit power, maybe if I hit power. Here we go. 15.8. So, 2.5-ish, right? 2.3, okay. You wanna see it going the other way? Okay, you think I lost 3 PSI switching that over? Yeah. Here we go. Got this guy. So remember, this was 18.1. Now it says 15.8. Ready, unplug it. Plug it in. I did the wrong one. I totally plugged the wrong thing in. It's okay. Hey, 16.6. So yeah, lost a little air doing the hose the wrong way, but I certainly didn't gain 1 PSI as going from there to there would indicate. So just, yeah, they're gonna disagree by a couple, and I think you just get over that. And I'll give you one more test. So again, now we're 16.8, right? Here is my my digital Viair, which I've been using for a while. I'm just gonna unplug this from the tire and plug the other one right back in. So didn't lose any air that time. And plugging this guy in. And this says 17.3. So, interesting. Okay, so we messed with the hoses. We are down a whole bunch. We compared some gauges. Got a feel for that. So let's play with the compressor. So I'm gonna hook up the 2-tire system back to the compressor. And I'll hook this end back up to the tire. You hear that hiss? That's coming out of this quick disconnect. And if you push on it, it gets better. And if you let go, it goes away. You know, I've got some nail guns that are the same way. It's just that fitting. So kind of annoying right out of the box to have that. I'm sure they would swap that out. I'm sure I could swap that out and do a little bit better. So, but that's just, you know, observation. That's what we're doing. So there you go. So this compressor has 2 modes to it. It's got a manual mode, which is, you know, this M, which essentially means make it act like every other air compressor. And then it's got this, you know, they call it the total control system, where you can actually set your PSI. So right now it says 30. I'm gonna bump that down to 20 just for this quick demo, because I know we have less than that in these tires. But if I go back to manual mode, it should, and I hit the power button, it'll stop. Let me see if I can get it to where it says PSI. So it stops at 125, and that's where this thing is set to essentially have an auto shut off, which is great. You wouldn't want it any higher than that. You know, that's the limit for basically any air tools or anything that you might be running off of this. But it's, you know, and I have this valve kind of killed here. So if I were to open this up, you know, that air now from the tank just went into the hose, and now it's sort of filling this tire. And I could fill this tire manually by hitting manual again, and believe it would go, or maybe I got to hit power again. There we go. Okay, so I got it up to 11.1, according to 11.9, excuse me, according to that gauge. 14.8 according to this gauge. We'll just average those, right? So 12 and a half. Anyway, but let's get into this automatic mode. So get up here to 20 PSI, and I just hit the button, and so 20.0 according to that gauge, 22.9 on this guy. I sped that up, but I think you saw this thing kind of jerk like 3 times, so it stopped a couple times. I'm guessing that's just the nature of how this system works, and I don't know that you could undo that unless you gave this a tolerance to say go ahead and go over. So just know that it might stop, start, stop, start maybe 3 times before you are at your final PSI. I got this guy in the sweet spot. It's not leaking, you know, and that's how they are. So nothing's leaking. 22.6 here now, 20.0. Everything is equalized. Yeah, it works as intended. So what I want to do next is really similar to the last compressor video that I did, essentially a 1-minute air up test. But with 2 tires, I'm just gonna let that go 2 minutes and let's see what we get. I'm gonna use this gauge just because that's gonna be a constant regardless of which compressor we're using. And I can plug this right into, you know, the up-down air compressor that I've got under the hood here. So it'll be all the same equipment, same setup. It's just, you know, one compressor compared to the other. So I'm gonna get this down to exactly 20.0, and I'm gonna see what we get after 2 minutes. So it should be exciting. Okay, truck is running. This says 19.5, so I've lost a little through the valve. That's all right, let's fire it up. Hold on a second. So, I must not be doing it right, and the instructions are a little limited. Thought I was all ready to go, but it kept stopping at 20. I thought I was in the manual mode. So I'm just gonna bump this up to like 40 PSI, right? There's no way we get there. All right, 42. You know, tires are gonna be okay with that. So, all right, I'm gonna start. I'm just kind of watching the clock on the video. So, all right, test is on in 3, 2, 1, here we go. All right, so still learning here. Fast forwarded through that last test, and I aired back down to, well, let's see, we got, it says 19-ish on that guy, 20.7 on this one. You know, RTFM. It turns out M does not mean manual mode. Of course not. M stands for units. So the power, you just keep pushing the power button to get back into the manual mode, which is what I wanted to do the first time. So I'm gonna do that again. We'll let a little more air out of this guy. There we go. That says 20.3 on this gauge. So we're gonna start this test now and see if we can go for a full 2 minutes now. Both tires hooked up. I also didn't have that one hooked up the first time. Sorry about that. I was wondering why it wasn't getting full. Anyway, ready? 2, 1. Okay, 2 minutes is done. 35.9 here. 33.3. That's pretty good. I mean, we went from 20 to street pressure. I mean, that's pretty much aired down to aired up. 2 minutes, both front tires. That is fast. That's faster than CO2 because you're doing it both at the same time. So very impressive there. I mean, of course they say this is like 10.1, I want to say CFM, you know, the ARB twin and, you know, the up down air, those are like 6.1. So not quite twice as fast, but you know, measurable. Just to prove that though, I'll air them down again and we'll air up from the other compressor, see how we do. One last comment before I unhook this setup. I don't know if you noticed, but that shut off a couple times. So I don't know why. It made sense when the limit switches were close to their final pressure that it was kind of equalizing, but it doesn't make sense when we're just in a manual mode and we say, just give us some air. If you cap out at 125, there's no reason you should take a break at 25. And that's what it was doing. So it stopped a couple times, but then it kind of didn't stop. So I don't know. I could definitely be doing this wrong. By all means, tell me in those comments if I am. I'll keep learning how to use this. I'm going to talk to those guys also again and maybe follow up and say, oh, here's what I figured out and here's why I'm an idiot. I'm happy to do that. But in the meantime, just kind of puzzled why that didn't just keep going continuously. The other thing is, you know, I'm unhooking this thing and this guy's pretty hot. I mean, I can unhook it, but I wouldn't want to hold that in my hand. It's cooking. This fitting is pretty hot too right out of there. So something to just observe. You know, air compressors get hot. Maybe that's a thermal switch, but it just doesn't make sense. You know, it's like 40 degrees out and we're just airing up 2 tires here. So just observation. Anyway, let's get on to the other test. So I'm set up here. I had to move this around, basically hook, you know, this side to the passenger side and swing the other thing around. It's not going to make it a difference for this test, but I just needed the shorter lead with the gauge to be close to the compressor. Other thing I've learned is that I can't hook this directly up to the fitting I have here. There's just no room. So, you know, if this was going to be my setup, I would probably find a way to turn this, you know, 90 so it came straight out this way. Of course, then it's over the switch. So, but I think I could get to it even if I turned it that much. If you see, I could make that work, or just add an air hose. And for this test today, I'm just gonna add the shortest air hose I can find. You know what, scratch that. I'm gonna turn the fill port. My shortest air hose is like 20 feet long. That introduces another variable. I think the worst case scenario here is, there we go. I get a tiny little leak. Well, that other thing had a tiny little leak, so maybe it all evens out. I can now hook this up right here and everything's cool. And yeah, away we go. So, all right, I'm ready to run the test. And to confirm, this guy says 19.5, 19.6. Hopefully you can read that. And I'm just gonna hit the switch and walk away to, boom, go. Helps if you hit the valve. So, all right, let's see what happens in 2 minutes. Two-minute test is over, so yeah, I can pop this out of here. This is not hot, by the way, and 32.2, so actually really not that far off the other compressor, is it? So I'll figure out that, put up a little table here, and we can compare. Now, I know what maybe one of you's thinking. I just thought of it myself. I didn't have the truck running. And of course, air compressors love it when you're idling because they want to be in the 13.5, even 14 range voltage wise, compared to just sitting there where it might be 12, 12.1. And how dare you test this new compressor with your very old original Toyota battery against this other, you know, aftermarket compressor hooked to your fancy 100 amp hour, you know, deep cycle, whatever battery. So yeah, you know what, you're right. And we should do it again. But after that test, I'll just tell you, that battery says 12.4, so not terrible. Now that other battery is measuring 13.0 after that test. So yeah, that is a better battery for this test. So to be fair, let's air down again, and we're gonna run the Thors Lightning. Again, I'm gonna go down to 20 PSI on both front tires, and I'm gonna start the truck, go for 2 minutes, see what happens. Okay, set up again. This gauge is reading 20.4, and I got the manual out, and it just says, again, press power to start the compressor, press power to stop it. That's manual mode. And then it says the compressor has 2 to 4 random stops during inflation, which is normal. So I guess get over it. It's gonna shut off a couple times. It's kind of peculiar to me, but in any case, let's start the test. Okay, now I'm down to exactly 20. Okay, 19.9. Oh, there we go, stop the leak there. And all right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, truck is running. Gauge says 20.3. Let's hit it. 2, 1. Okay, 2 minutes is up. This gauge says 39.6. Just unhook that. That thing is hot. I'm not lying. That's hot. That other one wasn't hot. It's even hot coming out of the little manifold here. These guys are hot. So this whole thing warmed up. Yeah, those guys are hot. Anyway, yeah, it definitely squirted some air in these tires though. Again, we'll compile this data. So we have now 3 tests to compare. A couple other things to point out on the compressor itself. This little lead for the air hose, it did have this little rubber boot on it. I just put it back on. I had removed it trying to diagnose where that little hiss was coming from. But there's no question they know that thing gets hot. That's why you get a little rubber boot on there. It also comes with a, a nice long air hose, which is nice, but it doesn't have any gauge to it. Now I saw a video from Thors Lightning that showed that they upgraded that. So that would be something to definitely get if you don't already have, like your own, filler gauge to add to the end of the hose. Otherwise you're gonna be walking between the tire and the compressor, to shut that off. So, other than that, pretty clever little unit. And then when you have it all finished to go, it all wraps up in this, this nice little case. Compressor hose all fits in there, and there's plenty of other room for, another valve or some deflators, or, other accessories that they offer. So that's kind of cool. If you got space for this case, there you go. That's pretty nice. And then the hose kit, of course, also has its own case where you can put, both hoses if you have the 4 tire system, or, just one of them if you got the 2, and then plenty of space for this guy. I did have to add a couple AAA batteries to this. Not a big deal, but just something to be aware of if you're gonna go use this thing for the first time. You're gonna need a couple batteries, or you're gonna be looking for a headlamp or something to rob from. So again, it's just something you can work through. And I'll just say it again because throughout this test, I am just really in love with these ends. They work so well. They go on, they snap in, they don't leak. I wish I had these for years. So definitely a highlight here. So good job, guys. So let's get to the differentiator, right? I've got all 4 tires now hooked up to the, the hose system. I'm reading 19.4 on the compressor. Little gauge, 21.3. So they've equalized. They're within 1 now. I'm gonna start the truck, and then I'm gonna push this button here, and I'm gonna say I want everyone to be 39 PSI. So let's see what happens. that's pretty sweet. You notice I turned the truck off and it still only took 4 or 5 minutes to air up all these tires. I had a problem with the Bluetooth of the phone hooked to the truck, and then it killed the video. I'm having all sorts of these fun little issues today. But what you did notice is I haven't touched this compressor, and it's off, and that says 39.0. That's pretty cool. The other gauge says 40.3. I'm happy with either one of those numbers. This is great. I'm going to go down the highway and not worry about PSI again. So it's a little nuanced what mode I'm in, because you're pushing power to activate the manual mode. And then if you push the up and down and get those blinking and then push power, it activates the kind of auto shut off mode or total control mode, which is a really cool feature. And my understanding that is Thors Lightning actually developed that technology. So, you know, ideally that would be proprietary to them. But in any case, really cool, very innovative. I like that. I wish though there was more of like maybe a rocker switch that just said, you know, auto shut off mode and not auto shut off mode. To me, that would be easier. You know, with every other air compressor, it's either on or off, right? And so with this one, I'm not sure if it's going to shut off or not. I'm sure over time I would get used to that, and to where I could actually trust it and walk away. Because that's the benefit that they're really trying to sell here, is hook it all up, hit go, and then you can go get caught up in something else, which might be helping somebody else put their awning away, or it might be get a fire going, or it might just be, you know, doing what you do when you go camping. And at some point later that evening, you go and, you know, put all your air junk away. So, you know, this thing's already kind of power cycled off. Very cool, holding steady, 39 PSI. So, you know, really cool. So there you go. That's what that looks like when it's all set up, and we're all aired up. So now the question you're trying to answer is this the right stuff for you? Is it worth the investment here? So, you know, this kit for the 4 tires, $200, pretty nice. I love that manifold. I love those little ends. Obviously, sorry, third time, I won't say it again. Pretty cool product. You know, $150 for 2 tires, $200 for 4. You know, yeah, it's pretty cool. If you have the space for this, I would definitely consider it. The compressor, you know, it's a little bit big, a little bit heavy, but dang it, it's portable and it works. It's faster than the, you know, the up-down air, which we know is the same, a little bit faster than the ARB twin. So probably one of the fastest, if not the fastest, electric, you know, portable air compressors that there is. Certainly you'll be aired up and on your way in a matter of minutes, which is great. If you have multiple rigs, I think that's the best case for something portable, so that you can, you know, put all your air stuff in one. You know, permanent mount system is nice because it's just always there. You know, with this setup, I'd have to find a spot in a drawer or somewhere for all of this. Whereas with that setup, all I have is a hose and a valve, and this goes under the seat. So kind of an argument for the permanent system, but a little bit more of an investment with that. I totally get it. So that said, so yeah, solid contenders here. And you know, the hose system is really cool. Compressor worked well. Obviously it was fast. It preferred to have the truck running, but every compressor does. Little bummed that one valve right out of the compressor leaks a little bit. You know, I'm used to that, you know, buying a bunch of air fittings at Harbor Freight. You always get one every now and then that does. But still, I'm sure we can swap that out and do better there. It gets hot. You can't deny it gets hot. You know, they put the little rubber boot on there just so you don't burn yourself, but hotter than more compressors get. So, and I don't know if that's related to why it shuts off on its own, if that's a thermal thing. It was a surprise to me that even happens. But it happens so often that they put it in the manual that it's just gonna happen, and get over it. So I guess if you can get past those couple of things, by all means, it's fast and clearly is at a great price point for a compressor that really delivers this much value.
Well, with all of that, I think we'll wrap it up. A lot of content today, long one. Thank you for sticking with me on this guy. Really want to shout out one last time, Thors Lightning. Well done, guys, on these products. Really enjoyed getting to know them a little bit more today. So any questions, please let me know. If there's another test you'd like to see, let me know. We'll try to work that in future videos. And of course, anything else you want to see in the videos in general or in Gamma Beauty products, would love to hear that feedback as well. Thanks so much again for being with me today. I'll see you in the next one.